optimist. So please, God, don't tell me that you're an eternal pessimist.
I like to say I'm a realist.
Oh, it's great. We're going to get along great. This is going to be great.
This is Inside Wisconsin Sports with Trevor and Josh.
Crowd is here, about to blow, waiting for me to start the show. Out the curtain, lights go up from home. Whoa!
Listen, the reality of everything in Milwaukee is this. If they spent as much time dealing with their own internal dynamics and problems as they do responding to accurate reports, they wouldn't be in the mess that they're in right now. I'm just focused on doing the job at the highest of levels that I possibly can.
In the words of the Joker from The Dark Knight, and here we go. It's going to be interesting, though, Josh, to see what Doc says now that he isn't employed, or is he? Is there some job in the front office? Is he still going to get a check from the Bucks? What can he say? Hot Mess City. Welcome to the soap opera. That is the Milwaukee Bucks organization. What's up, Wisconsin? Welcome in. Happy Tuesday. Audio courtesy of ESPN and the Pat McAfee Show. Lots to share from that yesterday. Trevor Thomas, Josh Albrecht.
Hi.
Safe and sound. Little bit of power issue for one of us, a little bit of flooding issue for the other, or maybe for both. And I don't think we're alone, Josh. The state of Wisconsin is waking up to whoa, that was a long night.
Yeah, a rough one for sure. I mean, we were, we lost power around, essentially, as soon as the tornado sirens went off here. There's about a minute or two later that boom. And we heard like a pop. Like we heard like a pop outside.
That would be a transformer.
Yeah.
That's what those do when they go bye-bye.
Not good. Not good.
A lot going on. According to some reports, 5 distinct tornado warnings in Wisconsin over the last 24 hours or so. Taylor County, which is over by La Crosse, Dodge County, just north of Jefferson County in southeast Wisconsin. And then Jefferson, Walworth, Waukesha all had their own thing going at 1:45. That was last night / this morning. Ozaki, Washington counties at 2. Racine, Milwaukee, Waukesha again at 2:15. It was a rough night. And unfortunately, it looks like another rough night tonight. So let's all just dial in. This time it's a little bit south. It'll be more southeast Wisconsin, southern Wisconsin. We got the brunt of whatever it was for us here in northeast Wisconsin for the most part yesterday and last night. I know Wausau got just crushed, so I hope all you guys are waking up okay over there. It's a mess. Be safe. Don't drive through standing water. We know that by now, right, Wisconsin? This is not our first rodeo with spring severe weather.
Yeah, you would hope so. And for us here in southeastern Wisconsin, as Trevor mentioned, yeah, we're not through it yet. We're going to have more coming this evening. It's not supposed to go super late into the night. But it is going to start kind of early, especially if you're traveling. You might get stuck in something on the way home. So maybe if you do have to go into work, if you're able to leave a little early, you might want to plan on that as well.
414-677-1250. That's the Nicolay Law talk and text line. If there are things that are out and about in terms of damage and water and around the state of Wisconsin that you think would be relative for us to share with all of you, reminder, that is our first and foremost calling when we open these mics on these radio stations across the state of Wisconsin here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. The reason this is an FCC regulated thing is because it's required to serve the public. That's you. So yes, we're going to talk about sports today. And yes, we're going to serve the public. If there are things that you see or news that you have in terms of storm damage and whatever the case may be, let us know if we think it's going to be valuable information to pass on to all of you. Duluth, Superior, Wausau, Green Bay in the Fox Valley, the Milwaukee in the greater Milwaukee area. If you live in Wisconsin, it highly likely stormed for you last night. It was quite the swath. So hope everybody's all right this morning. Keep us in the loop. But until then, we'll do what we do best, which is allow all of us to escape reality for a little bit of time and talk about things that are fairly meaningless in the grand scheme of things, and that's called sports.
Yay, sports.
Yay, sports. All right, let's get caught up.
Packers.
It's officially draft season. It didn't sneak up on us either. We knew this was coming. We've been talking about it for a hot second. We're actually going to chat with our guy, Andy Herman, from the Pack-A-Day podcast coming up at 8:20 this morning to start to preview what we believe the currently 8 picks in the 2026 NFL Draft will bring the Green Bay Packers. We have 1 in the second, 1 in the third, 1 in the fourth, 1 in the fifth, actually 2 in the fifth, 1 in the sixth, 2 in the seventh. We got another 5th rounder, pick number 153 from the Eagles when we traded Dontavian Wicks. So we added to the fray there, plus we have number 255 overall, which is the compensatory pick that we got from this year's draft. But no first rounder. And that's maybe, Josh, one of my questions for Andy is, what is the likelihood that you see the Packers trade up into the first round to get somebody that we think is going to be an impactful player right away? Or are we all good with being in this draft and development phase of, listen, 26% of the team turned over? It's going to need some change.
Yeah. It's a great point. And who knows what Goody is scheming and what he's thinking. I will say, like you just said, 8 picks, right? That's what they have this year is 8 picks. Do you know how many they had last year total?
Not off the top of my head, no.
7. They had 7 picks. So I'm looking at this, and without that first round pick, it has seemed to me like they're going out of their way to try to get more draft picks to maybe have some ammunition to trade up or to make up for the fact that they don't have that first round pick. So they have more opportunities to strike gold, find that diamond in the rough. And then I look at last year and I go, oh, never mind. They had 7 picks last year. Like, that's one more pick. That's not. So it's not like they have like 11 picks or something crazy because they don't have a first. Like, they cut people, they traded people to get picks. They have one more pick. It's really not going to move the needle that much.
But that's not enough if you ask Brian Gutekunst. He loves his draft picks. So hopefully he can get more if he thinks he needs more. But going in this year with 8, to your point, isn't different than that last year in terms of 7. However, there's no first rounder. We all know who was drafted in the first round last year, Matthew Golden. Jordan Morgan was the year before that. Lucas Van Ness in 2023. Quay Walker and Devontae Wyatt in 22. And Eric Stokes in 21. We haven't had multiple first-round draft picks in quite a while, the last time in 22. And I believe before that, Clay Matthews and B.J. Raji was probably the last time we had 2 picks in the first round. Again, trading up. And that's really what it's about, Josh. So we have 8, none in the first, 2 in the fifth, 2 in the seventh, 1 in each round thereafter. What are we going for? That's what we got to talk to Andy Herman about. And do we see value in trading on draft day in order to fill some spots that we definitely need some help in? Offensive line.
There are a lot of spots that the Packers need help. But to your point, what's the main goal? Is it getting that one big piece that you would trade up for, or is it depth? Is it just getting bodies and hoping that one of those 5th and 6th round picks, like they have in the past, strike gold for Goody?
All right, Packers check. Brewers off yesterday and no news on Christian Yelich. However, I have a source that saw Christian Yelich yesterday, visited with him, talked with him, asked him how he was doing, took a picture. It's my under 10-year-old godson who says Yelly's fine.
Oh. Well, that's good.
Saw him at a meet and greet yesterday in the Fox Valley. Got a picture with him. And I immediately texted back his dad and was like, what information do we get? What do we get? What do we ask him? Oh, we're too late. We'll go back inside. Go back inside and send Nolan right at him and go, hey, Yelly, it's Noli. How's your hamstring? Because he'll give that kid an answer. None of us, of course.
Yeah, he's not going to give him like the real answer. What do you think he's going to tell him? Yeah, kid, it's bad. You might not see a lot of me this season.
Interestingly,
now get out of here, you little scamp.
If you had a really bad hamstring injury, though, would you be out and about and doing stuff, or would you cancel that?
I don't know. I think that if you have the ability to be there, if it's cautious, right? If it's like, they would have told you if he was on crutches.
But he did not appear to be being cautious, according to said source.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like, if you have a hamstring injury, it's kind of, this is how I compare it. Remember when Micah Parsons had his injury And then like way too soon afterwards, we saw him like doing dance videos with his family on social media. And we were like, what are you doing? Like, shouldn't you be like laying down? And people had to explain, like, well, actually, with that type of injury, like the movement he's doing is fine. It doesn't really. So, like, there's a lot more that goes into it. There's a fair chance that someone who's in the shape that Christian Yelich is can absolutely, even if they have a hamstring injury that would sideline them for a month, would be able to walk to a meet and greet and, take some photos with people. It's not like he was doing the running drills with them and stuff.
You mentioned it there, sideline for a month. I don't know if you saw that, false reporting, at least not checked out reporting. That report that came out yesterday was community noted not to be horribly accurate.
Oh, good.
In regard to Yelly being laid up for a month. Check the ones that we go to most, like Adam McKelvey and others, and there is no specific report as to what this looks like for Yelly. You ever blown out a hamstring, Josh?
Nope.
It's really bad to the point where you wouldn't want to be walking, talking, standing, sitting's not great. Hopefully it's just a twinge. That's what he said. I felt a little twinge. We'll get the full report hopefully today when the Brewers return to AmFam Field and share what the update there is, along with Churio's latest imaging and how Vaughn's doing, and are we going to get any of these guys back? And is Cooper Pratt going to join the club anytime soon, knowing that if there continues to be these injuries, it's just a matter of time until some of these cats that are down in the minors appear available for the big league club.
Yeah, that's a great point. We talked about that with multiple people preseason of just, all right, when do we see some of these guys? And I think it was Tim Allen who said, well, you're either going to see them because people are struggling at the plate or there are injuries. Well, what do we have right now? People struggling at the plate and injuries. We have them both. So I don't know how long the leash is on the guys that are struggling, but I would definitely expect to see some of these guys up here soon.
Blue Jays in town for today, tomorrow, day game on Thursday. Then the Brewers fly away to the Marlins for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We'll see if we can recover. We got to get off the 5-game skid. So let's play one of the best teams in the AL from last year. What can go wrong? Yay, us.
Well, hey, we got on this 5-game skid playing two teams that were struggling and lost to them. So who knows?
There's that. Badgers.
Badgers.
I have just one main piece to report on here, and it reads as follows. Marcus Sedberry is the interim athletic director at Wisconsin. Sedberry is not some outside placeholder. He's been at Wisconsin since 2022 as deputy athletic director and chief operating officer. And in February of 2025, Mr. Sedberry also took over on the role of football general manager. He can't stay.
Yeah. Sounds like he's already been too far in the weeds here.
If he had anything to do with the football program being in the current state of affairs, which according to my math, he did, then this can't happen unless he comes out and goes, I tried telling Chris McIntosh how bad these decisions were and he wouldn't listen to me. Now I have ears. But unless he comes out and does that, which he's not going to do,
right?
I certainly hope that we uncover some rocks and talk about who it's going to be, which we'll do later in the show as well. But it's not necessarily the person, it's the makeup. What do we want the next era of Wisconsin athletics to look like through the eyes, the hands, and the mouth of the athletic director? There's a lot to be said that this is probably our opportunity to graduate from the Barry Alvarez era. Not that there's anything wrong with the Barry Alvarez era.
How dare you?
Of Wisconsin. Well, dude, you got to move on at some point. And unfortunately, that's been difficult for Wisconsin to do because Barry hangs around a lot, right? And Chris McIntosh was one of his proteges. But a lot has happened. Brett Bielema wasn't the right choice. Gary Anderson wasn't the right choice. According to Chris McIntosh, Paul Chryst wasn't the right choice. And according to everybody else, pretty much, Luke Fickell's not the right choice. Well, all of that happened under the wing still of Barry Alvarez. things have changed. So let's look at what the next era of Wisconsin athletics needs to look like. We'll talk in depth about that coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. Until then, we wait and just see what Madison's going to do because they got no chancellor. They don't have anybody running the system. There's nobody in the big chair in terms of athletic director, although Doug Gottlieb has some ideas, which we'll hopefully talk to him about tomorrow. Why would Wisconsin not come and grab Chancellor Alexander and Josh Moon, the current athletic director from UW Green Bay? We'll mention that at 8 o'clock as well. Wishful thinking, he said, probably not going to happen, but it would be plausible because they've done one hell of a job in creating a destination university here at UW Green Bay that's been increasing in attendance the last few years. And, oh, yeah, an athletic department that really needed to be overhauled, and Josh has done it. Maybe?
I mean, I wouldn't rule it out. Anything's on the table right now.
All right, on to the Bucks.
Bucks.
D-U-N done, my buddy Jason would say. It's official. We caught it at the end of the show yesterday. Doc Rivers no longer with the Bucks, and holy moly, are him and Shams taking jabs left and right. Left hook, right hook, uppercut, knee to the groin in some cases. We have lots of audio to play from you coming up in the Malott Meets Morning Mind Dump from Doc from a few days ago, talking about how gross it's been for Shams and all of his reporting, especially when it comes to the locker room. But then said Shams was on Pat McAfee yesterday. We heard it there at the Open, and he gave us lots of firepower, which leaves a guy like me going, fascinating. This is not one way or the other, at least through my eyes. I'm guessing, Josh, that you probably have an opinion that's strongly one way or the other.
Now, to me, and I can't wait to get to this in the 7 o'clock hour, but this is watching the two kids in school that you hate fight each other and kind of just go like, man, if there's a way you can both lose, that would be great. And it's fascinating because I don't trust either of them. I don't like either of them. And the way that they're going at each other, I'm going, can you guys just do this over there? Just go fight, get personal, and leave my team and city out of it.
One of them has a job. The other one was told his services were no longer welcome. At least that's part of the reporting.
Well, and so, I think that might play a role in this. What's the motive? Who else has something to lose at this point?
Well, is there a motive? All of that coming up. Top of the hour in the Malott Meets Morning Mind Dump, where we will dig further into this whole idea of Shams and Doc and the Bucks and ESPN and reporting and Woj. And there's probably 9 other things that we just don't have the time to list off right now. So stay tuned. 7 a.m. the Malott Meets Morning Mind Dump. Anything else?
Anything else?
Yeah, don't be stupid and drive through puddles. Yeah. Like standing water, no bueno. Don't do it. I mean, the news here in Green Bay and Northeast Wisconsin showing that like 6+ inches per hour fell in some spots last night. That's flash flooding, and that's not something you mess with. So if you see standing water this morning as you're driving, pause. Don't drive through it. You don't know how deep it is. Oh, but I've been on this road. I know. I know. We all have. Be smart. Don't do it. And hopefully you're not waking up to too terrible of storm damage from last night. My kids are at the age, Josh, where they sleep through this type of stuff. I'm usually the one that has to wake them up to go, bad. We got to go in the basement, bad.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, they'd sleep through it. I bet my youngest woke up, but he's 14. Your house, different ball game.
Yeah. So first and foremost, my wife, Julie, hates tornadoes. Like, it is like her big thing. And so when the tornado siren went off last night, at like 1:15, 1:30 in the morning, I would have slept right through it. She was like, get up. She grabs Jack. I go and I get Jordy. We set up downstairs. You know, we get everyone ready to fall back asleep, but we're downstairs then, and then boom, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, power goes out. We hear the pop of the transformer. No idea.
That helped with the fear.
Oh, yeah. No idea how long the power is going to be out. Obviously, that died down. We were able to go back to bed. Got, still no power at the house. I'm sure there are a lot of people in southeastern Wisconsin, not just us, dealing with that. A lot of medical services I was seeing on Twitter being overwhelmed So please be patient there. And most importantly, if you're in southeastern Wisconsin, unlike northeast Wisconsin that's dealing with, the flooding and everything, we still got another round coming here this evening. So just be prepared for that. Be aware of that. Do whatever you can. If you left the house, make sure that you're charging your devices if they're not already. If you don't have power, or even if you do, just prepare for the second round that's coming later this evening.
Weather aware. That's what we ask you to be. Just be aware of the weather today. Don't ignore the fact that there's some pretty significant storms forecasted to happen again tonight. 414-677-1250, the Nicolay Law talk and text line. Give us a report. Let us know how your community is doing. Hopefully, everybody's waking up to the best possible scenario. And there was some tornadoes, though. We'll have to see what damage reports start to come in. When that stuff happens at night, man, that is scary. Hard for people to get woken up and have the right ways of getting information. How did you guys wake up? How did you know there was a tornado warning?
The siren.
Like the outside siren.
The outside siren going off.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what got Julie. And then I woke up because Julie was like, get up. And I went, oh, okay. The crazy thing is like, we don't have a generator. Like, we don't have like a backup system. I've been saying for years, like, I would love to get like an in-house generator, not like a gas one, but like you can get one that's there. It'll just flip on if something happens. But like, I wear CPAP. I know you wear CPAP.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that I didn't wake up, well, the power was already up, but then I couldn't put the CPAP back on. Like, I didn't have a generator. And like, now I'm thinking about, okay, it's wet. It's raining a lot. There's more rain coming. Don't have a generator ready to go. Kick that sump pump on. I know there are a lot of people that might not be thinking about that in this area, but if you've already gotten a lot of rain in your area and there's more coming and your power is out, maybe use this time to find someone, a neighbor, someone with a generator that can at the very least get your sump pump running again.
Amen to that. Ooh, speaking of, do you have a battery backup for your sump pump?
I don't. I got plans after the show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, when we come back, what is the secret sauce currently missing for the Milwaukee Brewers? Was there something that we had last year that we don't have this year that's allowing a streak like this to even rear its ugly head? We'll discuss and hopefully get your feedback as well. 414-677-1250, the Nicolay Law talk and text line. Off and running on a Tuesday, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. It's Inside Wisconsin Sports with Trevor and Josh. Good morning.
When things just don't add up, Trevor and Josh ask the hard questions or just point out how messed up stuff is.
I only have one question.
Can you fly this plane and land it?
Surely you can't be serious.
Do you view this season as a failure?
You asked me the same question last year.
What's the most important question the Badgers have to answer Saturday?
This is a great question. Oh my God, this is a great question.
It's time for I Have Questions on Inside Wisconsin Sports with Trevor and Josh.
The Nicolay Law Talk and Text Line, 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. The question of the day, what are we missing with the Milwaukee Brewers right now? On a 5-game skid, the Blue Jays, who aren't exactly playing their best baseball, come to town for a 3-game set starting tonight at AmFam Field. But there seems to be something missing in terms of secret sauce.
Mm-hmm.
What did we have last year, Josh, that we don't have this year? That's the question.
It's a great question, right? And it might just be that it's early. It might just be like this, that the sauce is there, but that we're impatient, right? We talk about the record, and the record's the same. It's not like they're in last place in the division. It's not like things have completely hit the bottom. It's the 5-game skid that worries us, knowing that the Blue Jays are coming to town and looking at what we have. I'm not going to say the problem is the injuries because they had injuries last year. Okay. I think the secret sauce is whatever performance, whoever was in charge of the bullpen. I still think the bullpen is the biggest red flag right now because I'm not sure what the excuse is there. I don't understand. Like, our starting pitching has been okay. It's not like guys are getting shelled and being pulled in the second inning, and our bullpen is just so depleted. But it seems like then when we put our bullpen out there, who is the healthiest part of this team, they're not performing. They're letting us down. They're not as lights out as they were last year. I don't think we realized how much that was the secret sauce of getting through those tough stretches as we waited for the bats to come back and the starting pitching to come back. It was the bullpen was lights out, and they haven't been to start the season.
They haven't had the defense behind them here in the last 5 games either. 6 errors overall, which there was only 1 or 2 in the first all the games to start the season.
True.
So if we got guys that are getting shelled, and then we got a defense that's not exactly picking up the ball in regard to being able to do the out thing that they're supposed to do, then is it about hitting? Is it about the dugout? Is it about a secret sauce, or is it just a bad combination that we as Brewers fans don't really need to worry about? 414-677-1250, the Nicolay Law Talk and Text Line. I think there is a bit of a secret sauce missing, and it's milk. Dude, we need strong bones, Batman.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Get some milk in that locker room. It's Wisconsin. We were all told growing up, drink more milk.
Yep. That is
strong
what we were
bones,
told.
Healthy bodies.
Calcium. Get that calcium in there.
Also a bit dairy-esque of us to say so.
Right.
What's it called when you can't eat dairy? Lactose intolerance?
Yeah.
Maybe we've got some of that. There's also one big piece missing on the bench, and I wondered if this has anything to do with it. Out went Ricky Weeks from being a bench coach, and in came hitting coach, the one and only Daniel Vogelbach. And then we take the schneid in regard to our hitting. Is there something there that we're missing with Ricky Weeks not being on the bench? Because that was a good combo. And I also have questions as to why that's not a thing anymore. I wonder if there's something that we're missing behind the scenes. I'm not trying to start something. Just saying, I thought that was weird.
It was interesting, right? I think we all kind of just said that the reason why he was moved to the front office position was because we all thought he was being groomed to be the next manager, and Pat Murphy said, nah, look at me, I'm the captain now. And he took that over, and there was no way that they were going to say, okay, Rick, you go in there now that we have back-to-back manager of the year.
But then why move him to the front office?
Right.
Why not just leave him in the dugout?
Right. I don't think we thought enough about that move beyond just, well, yeah, we don't need him there because Pat Murphy's doing well. There was probably more to that story.
The introductory press conference of Pat Murphy had Ricky Weeks sitting right next to him. So if there was a plan That doesn't mean that we abort said plan because of success. It just means that, holy crap, we're way more successful than we thought we were going to be. Analytically speaking, the numbers have seemed to catch up with us this season. Adam McCalvey put out a fantastic article on MLB.com talking about this very thing, in how there needs to be a little bit of a, hold on, guys. We're still talking about a Milwaukee Brewers team that is not supposed to be achieving the things statistically that they are. So now the numbers have caught up to the point where, okay, this is reasonable. But the good news is the record isn't crazy. The injuries aren't crazy. There's been a number of them, but guys have stepped up. Newcomers like David Hamilton playing well. A little bit of error problem lately, but playing well. Yelly, we don't know anything yet. How's his hamstring? Hopefully we'll find out today. There was one report on Twitter yesterday that said he'd be out for a month, but I didn't see any of the sources that we would typically go to for that news retweet said news or confirm said news. There was nothing. So hopefully that's good news. Somebody on the Nicolay Law talk and text line, as we were chatting earlier about what it meant to actually pull a hamstring, or if Yelly's hamstring was really going to keep him out for a while, said, "Good morning, gents. I had a hamstring pull several years ago and had to use a walker for 3 months. Bill from Iron River." Yeah, bud, like if you really blow out a hammy, you know it.
Yeah.
Whereas if you feel a twinge and you're not a professional athlete, you go, oh, okay, there's that.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of differences there. I mean, no offense to Bill, but like, I don't know that Bill's been in an ESPN body issue. You know, like there is a little bit of a difference, but no, I mean, hopefully it's great news on Christian Yelich. That'd be a sigh of relief. I think we're just looking at all the injuries going, please no more. Please don't add another one. But I still don't think that that's the problem with the secret sauce that this team is missing, if they're missing it right now. You know, you talk about the hitting. All right, so if you're not focusing on the bullpen and you're looking just at the hitting, why? Why is the hitting the problem? Is it the new hitting coach? Is it Vogie? Are we thinking that Daniel Vogelbach being in that position has changed things? I also thought I heard something at the beginning of the year that Terang, like they moved Terang's hands. Something happened during the offseason there, and that was put on display in the World Baseball Classic. We've seen Terang has been okay. He had a multi-home run night just the other night. So I don't want to necessarily jump on there being one person that's in charge of it. I don't know that it's a Ricky Weeks or a lack of a Ricky Weeks or an addition of a Daniel Vogelbach that's messing with the sauce that the Brewers are currently making.
The 920 brings up a good point here, and it might be a conversation that's bigger for tomorrow. Is this just the normal Brewer roller coaster that we've gone on every single year? It's way too early for any of the conversation of good, bad, or ugly. But this person believes that the Brewers are a 500 squad at best. And Josh, you and I talked about that right at the beginning of the season. Yelly talked about that in the clubhouse at the start of the season. There's a lot of people that believe the Brewers the last 2 years massively overachieved.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the way it was supposed to be? Yelly said, a lot of people waiting to tell us we suck.
Yeah, I mean, the regression, right? That's what a lot of people are waiting for. I don't know. I think that text, though, from the 920 that said that kind of contradicts yourself. Like, you can't tell me that you're not worried now and that this is just part of the Brewers roller coaster and then say, but this is a 500 squad at best. If this is just the roller coaster that we go on as Brewers fans that we've been on for the last couple of years, that should make you say, so just ride it. Just ride the roller coaster. Know that they're on a downswing now, but they're going to come back up and we're going to be right back where they need to be, and this team will figure it out. If you think they're a 500 squad at best, then there's probably some things to be concerned about with this team. Because I don't know that I do know that a 500 squad at best is not going to make it or achieve what the Brewers are expected to achieve this season. It's not going to be enough.
The 920 says, which I believe is Derek from Whitewater, knowing Yelich, this hamstring is going to last all year. He'll look good for a couple games, then he'll be sore again, and then he'll sit a few weeks, wash, rinse, repeat. There is a conversation about that, Josh. Is Christian Yelich injury prone like Giannis?
Well, he's definitely not 100% healthy. I can tell you that. Just like you said he was. He's 100% healthy. He's not.
He was when I said that.
He was, but he's not.
Well, that's why I'm not taking it back on a Take Back Tuesday. There's nothing that I said in that moment that would have been inappropriate. Nothing.
Oh, wow.
Literally nothing.
Okay. Oh, I can't wait for that segment. I will say that, yeah, I think that there's a lot to be said for Yelly's injury. I think the bigger thing is that it's usually like the same area, right? It's not like usually it's his back. In past years, it's been like he's been on a tear and then back tightness. Now pulling him for back tightness, and then he's out for 2 weeks to a month with back tightness.
But
and then it was his
fear.
knee, and then now it's a hamstring.
Well, the knee was a foul ball. That was a bit of a different story. The foul ball off the kneecap is kind of hard to avoid an injury. But the lower back / back in general and the hamstrings are very much connected in terms of discomfort and injury proneness.
Is that true? I literally don't know. If you have back tightness, does that make you more prone to a hamstring injury?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. When I played college basketball, my lower back killed me, and the trainers were constantly working on my hamstrings. That was supposed to help my lower back. It didn't work. I'm 42 and awful lower back, but I'm also stupid tall, which I just assumed all goes together. Nope. Has a lot to do with hamstrings. My hamstrings are the size of your arm, bro. Like they're long, a lot of room for error.
Sure.
And the same is true for professional athletes. The hamstring is very much an indicator of a lot going on in the back. So hopefully this time with Yelly, they're not connected. That would be the goal. And hopefully we find out more today. There's some things to celebrate. We actually missed the opportunity to celebrate it yesterday. The most electrifying sound of the day has A.J. Green breaking a Ray Allen three-point record. That is worth celebrating and reliving. So we'll play that next and continue to get your feedback on where the Brewers are at as we start a new home series tonight against the Toronto Blue Jays. We're live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. It's Inside Wisconsin Sports with Trevor and Josh.
It's time for
The most electrifying,
Sound of the Day
the most electrifying.
on Inside Wisconsin Sports with Trevor and Josh. Brought to you by Best Electric. Learn more at bestelect.com. Don't stress. Connect with the best.
Cormac Ryan, A.J. Green for the record, gets it to fall. The greatest three-point single-season performance in Bucks history. A.J. Green, 233s on the season.
And that was A.J. Green's record-breaking three-pointer, call courtesy of Lisa Byington and FanDuel Sports. And that's the most electrifying sound of the day, brought to you by our friends at Best Electric. Remember, no job is too big or too small for Best Electric. Don't stress. Connect with the best. Call them today or visit bestelect.com. Trevor, obviously that comes in the last game of the season. He had gotten 11 three-pointers in the last home game of the season, which was a game in one game record for most three-pointers. Then he breaks the single season record the following game, the last game of the season, getting ahead of Ray Allen. Awesome accomplishment. Kind of sucks, though, that like he does that in the one season where we look at it as the most disappointing season in like the last 2 decades of Bucks basketball.
It's been a hot minute since there's been this disappointing of a season. Good for A.J. Green, though. That record held for a long time. Ray Allen set that in the 2001-2002 season, I believe, and the single game record, too. Ray Allen had 10. So he held both, and A.J. Green said, I'll have those. Thank you very much.
Give me that.
So how fast can we move on from this Bucs season? I guess that's one of the questions. And as long as Doc and Shams are jawing back and forth in the media, the answer to that question is going to be apparently not anytime soon. But as Bucs fans, do we want to move on quick? There's some good things to celebrate from the season, this being one of them, the A.J. Green record. But what else? And do we just get to move on and flush this thing?
No, that's what we want. We just want to move on. I think the bigger issue is I don't know how quickly we'll be able to move on. I do think that what we're going to talk about next with Shams and Doc and just kind of how this goes, if anything, should just get us in a specific mindset for what to expect next. Because this is not the last we're hearing from Shams. This might be the last we hear from Doc in a lot of this, right? As Doc's now like not a part of the team. Hopefully he's going to spend time with his grandkids, right? That's what he said. So there's a lot of things that go into that part of this. But yeah, this is just getting started as far as more news. Everything that we went through before the trade deadline, a lot of that is going to be coming back now that the season's done.
Whether you're a Bucks fan or not, an NBA fan or not, you'll want to join us for the Malott Meets Morning Mind Dump coming up next, just after the top of the hour. There was some clips that Doc shared that were from a few days ago that we're going to set up to share with you what Shams had to say yesterday on the Pat McAfee show, and it left a lot of Bucks fans on one side or the other. There's not many Bucks fans that I saw online yesterday that were for or against somewhere in the middle, meaning they're taking sides on this, and we're wondering if you are too. 414-677-1250, the Nicolay Law talk and text line. Is what Shams had to say yesterday on Pat McAfee, and we heard the clip to open the show at the top of the hour, is that abnormal? Or is it just what we should expect from reporting in 2026? Is this how things have evolved in terms of being a personality on social media, on networks that are all about getting us riled up? That's what they do best. And so where's the line between the truth in reporting and the opinion and personality in reporting? Shams is a reporter. That's what he calls himself. That's what we'll hear him call himself. Josh and I, not reporters, talk show hosts, supposed to make you laugh and enjoy your morning on whatever it is that you're on the way to do, or if you're chilling with us on YouTube or Twitter and hanging out like you do every morning. We're grateful. We're glad you're here. But you don't come to us for in-depth reporting. If you do, don't.
Yeah, that's not why we're here. But is it why Shams is here? Are we looking at Shams that way?
Yeah, I think so. That's the weird part about it.
That's the question.
Well, one of them has a job and one doesn't. That plays into this. And I can't help but notice, and we'll play it for you next. I can't help but notice when Shams talked yesterday, he didn't back down at all.
Nope.
And is there something to say about that? Because there's been a lot of noise, and the only people that seem to be shuffling their cards left and right and constantly scrambling is the Bucks. So where's the truth?
I don't
Where's
know that
the
I
truth?
agree with that completely either.
That's why we call it the Malott Meets Morning Mind Dump. What do you got to get off your chest and out of your head? That is coming up next, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, 414-677-1250. The Nicolay Law talk and text line. It's Inside Wisconsin Sports with Trevor and Josh. I am an eternal optimist. So please, God, don't tell me that you're an eternal pessimist.
I like to say I'm a realist.
Oh, it's great. We're going to get along great. This is going to be great.
This is Inside Wisconsin Sports with Trevor and Josh.
Crowd is here, about to blow, waiting for me to start the show. Out the curtain, lights go up from home. Whoa!
Listen, the reality of everything in Milwaukee is this. If they spent as much time dealing with their own internal dynamics and problems as they do responding to accurate reports, they wouldn't be in the mess that they're in right now. I'm just focused on doing the job at the highest of levels that I possibly can.
What's up, Wisconsin? Happy Tuesday. Hope everybody's all right from the storms last night around the state of Wisconsin here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Trevor Thomas, Josh Albrecht.
Hi.
Inside Wisconsin Sports. Audio courtesy of ESPN. Shams Charania on the Pat McAfee show yesterday, laying out his case as to why what he's been reporting on in regard to Giannis and the Bucks and all of the soap opera drama is accurate. And so, do we trust said accuracy from Shams, but really reporters in general? And how much has reporting changed, even in our lifetime, being 30s and 40s? What's changed with social media? How much do we have to vet before anything comes out of our mouth? That and more. If you got to get it off your chest and out of your head on a Tuesday, now is the time. We call it the Malott Meets Morning Mind Dump.
I hear voices in my head, they counsel me, they understand, they talk to me.
The coffee has kicked in. We're awake and ready to roll. Let's get some things off our chest and out of our heads.
You don't know what it's like to be me out here for you. It is an up at dawn, pride-swallowing siege that I will never fully tell you about, okay?
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
I'm in a glass case of emotion.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
We've got no food, we got no jobs, our pets' heads are falling off!
It's time for the Morning Mind Dump, presented by Malott Meats. High-quality meats at a fair price, safely delivered to your front door. To learn more, visit WisconsinMeatMarket.com. Experience the power of the family meal with Malott Meats on Inside Wisconsin Sports with Trevor and Josh.
Head to the social media platform of your choosing. Search Malott Meats and enter a giveaway. The winner is going to be picked May 1st. Like and comment on the video that's pinned there on socials, Instagram being one of them. They're giving away 4 USDA prime 8-ounce tenderloins, 4 signature Angus 8-ounce tenderloins, 1 8-ounce, 1 6-ounce, all tenderloins, the meat of the month at WisconsinMeatMarket.com. So first things first, the former head coach of the Milwaukee Bucks, Doc Rivers, while he was still the head coach of the Milwaukee Bucks, made an appearance on Run It Back, which is FanDuel's flagship NBA show. And he had a thing or two to say about how he feels Shams did reporting on the Bucks this season.
You and Giannis, you guys are in good standing. There's no strain whatsoever.
We have a great relationship. You know, Shams wrote an article that was so inaccurate that I don't have enough time to go into. He talked about a locker room thing, and I was laughing like, yeah, we had a tough locker room day. We lost to the Chicago Bulls with a 20-point lead. I showed clips the next day of guys who were screwing up. That's what happens in a locker room. You know, the first thing I thought, where's Woj? I miss Woj so much. That was the first.
No, Doc, don't say it.
Interesting.
I mean,
why does he
hold back?
Yeah, I have questions as to why he misses Woj, but let's continue to tell the story and then kind of break it all down. So that's him talking about the reporting of Shams and his relationship with Giannis, but he goes on.
Because it is crazy. Like those articles come out and by the way, it all made for great content during All-Star weekend between Shams and Giannis and everything. But you got to think sometimes like who's saying that stuff for a Shams to go write about it?
Well, you know, it's funny. Oprah Winfrey had a great line years ago. When you read her article, always think about what's the intent? What's the purpose of the article? You know, And so you guys probably know about this. A few people know about this. I made a joke before All-Star. If you remember that, Michelle, where I said Giannis should trade Shams. Shams took that so personal that he actually called the Bucks and yelled at them to take it down. Then the NBA calls. No, the NBA called the Bucks. No, it was a mess. The NBA calls the Bucks and are like, Shams wants us to tell you this, but we really don't care. And the NBA, and then the NBA posted it. So I've heard from 10 different people that have said, "Oh, Shams is going to do a revenge article on you guys and on you." And I was like, "Okay, I don't care." So that's the only thing I didn't like about it. It's the purpose of. I read that article. I'm like, what is this article for?
So that doesn't add up. Even what he just said there doesn't add up. He said that the NBA called the Bucks to have him take it down, but then the NBA shared it.
No, that's not what he said. He said that Shams called the Bucks, told the Bucks to take it down. Then the NBA, Shams had the NBA call the Bucks.
Yeah, that's what I just said. The NBA called the Bucks,
but the NBA told the Bucks, "Yeah, we don't actually care if you take it down." Like that's what Shams is saying. We're not telling you to take it down. And then he goes on to say, then the NBA takes it a step further, and they actually shared the video instead of having the Bucks take it down. They actually shared the video, which then pissed Shams off even more.
Reportedly.
That's why we're here. That's why we're having the conversation, because who's telling the truth? Who's in the right? Who's in the wrong? It's all a mess.
So that was Doc, who is no longer the head coach of the Milwaukee Bucks. Now we go to Shams, and we broke this down significantly so that we didn't take one portion of what Shams said yesterday that was featured on the Pat McAfee show out of context, because that's important. That's clickbait. If we just cut up one small piece of this and give an opinion or ask you for your opinion, well, now we're just as bad. And so we cut up the sound from Shams' appearance yesterday on Pat McAfee to make sure that we share the entire thing, and then we'll get some things off our chest and out of our head. So first things first, Doc talked about the reporting on Giannis. It feels like this has been going on for years. Nope, just 11 months.
I mean, I haven't really been talking about Giannis Antetokounmpo in Milwaukee for years. I started reporting on it last May. This has been like an 11, we're now at 11-month saga that's been going on between Giannis and the Bucks.
So 11 months. And he was coming back at Pat there, who said, it feels like it's been years. Nope, 11 months. But we would all agree it's felt like years for sure. Okay, so according to Shams, what's going on in Milwaukee?
I just report the news. I just document the news. And so the truth can hurt sometimes, 100%. I stand by my reporting to the 10th degree, like 100%. The reality of the Bucks situation is this, is Giannis in his camp informed the Bucks last May that he was ready to part ways. He was ready to move on. The time had come after 12 years together that we all had to move on. But John Horst, the general manager of the Bucks, and Doc Rivers, the head coach, they wanted to continue to keep him and contend, and they felt like they had the roster to compete in the Eastern Conference. They thought this team was going to be a contender, and then they go out and get Miles Turner, you waive and stretch Damian Lillard, and so you add all those factors together, and it's been a clear miscalculation of the situation. Giannis was very clear in his private meetings with the Bucks. He felt this roster wasn't good enough. He had serious doubts about the roster, and so listen, in a lot of ways, he was proved to be right. The season played out the way it played out. I think everyone in the NBA knows exactly what's going on in Milwaukee. I think most people in the world know exactly what's going on right now in Milwaukee.
So doubling down, tripling down to the 10th degree as to his reporting on what Giannis had asked the Bucks to do last May. So I thought that was interesting because, Josh, you and I talked yesterday as we were kind of getting ready for this show going, is he still standing by his reporting? Has anybody come out other than Giannis in his camp and say that that was wrong? The answer to that, I guess, is no, because he's still out there reporting it.
Well, I mean, Doc also has. I mean, Giannis, and then obviously as we're having this conversation, Doc has also said that his reporting is inaccurate.
Some pieces of his reporting. I was talking about the Giannis asking for a trade piece.
Oh, I see.
May.
Yeah.
What he was just saying. All right. So it appears to be they're in the same spot as last year.
we're kind of similar where we were last year as far as Giannis, as far as last summer, where the Bucks will get a bunch of calls. They're going to get a bunch of offers. They already went through negotiations for Giannis in February as far as trade talks. They're probably going to revisit a lot of those same conversations with teams like Minnesota and Golden State and Miami and the Knicks. We'll see how the playoffs shake out. That's going to have a big part in all this.
Okay. Same spot as last year. And he doubles down again in that clip and says that all of the talks about trading Giannis with those teams that were trying to put packages together were accurate as well. He's doubling down. Now, here's the big one that a lot of people have shared about Giannis and the Bucks and Doc and spending time on the things that matter instead of whatever it is that Shams is talking about.
The reality of everything in Milwaukee is this. If they spent as much time dealing with their own internal dynamics and problems as they do responding to accurate reports, they wouldn't be in the mess that they're in right now. I'm focused on doing the job at the highest of levels that I possibly can.
Well, he wasn't done, though. He said that and goes, wait, Pat, I got one more for you.
I got one more for you. All right. So I watched the documentaries from time to time. I saw one on Fire Festival. Right. And so the part we're at now is when, everyone wants to run and you're doing the cover up. And again, it's totally fine. Jeez. I'm just here to document and cover it the right way. And I feel like we've done an unbelievable job tracking everything. And at the end of the day, the last month and a half, we've seen it. The player in Giannis has been feuding with his own team about whether he can play or not. He wants to play. He feels he's cleared to play. He told the NBA, he told the NBPA, the union, that he's healthy and can play. They felt that the Bucks did not want to clear him. And my understanding is Giannis was told that it's upper management's decision not to allow him to play. And so how that plays out, the NBA is still looking into the situation. We'll see what comes of that or doesn't come of that.
Okay, so you're up to speed. You got all the information. We heard from Doc. We heard from Shams. We know the stories. And now, how do we dissect all of this? 414-677-1250, the Nicolay Law talk and text line. What's believable? What's not? Josh, where you land?
It's hard for me to believe any of it. It's one of those situations to where I'm like, okay, both of you, both sides of this have not done this correctly. There's emotions that have become involved to where the professionalism of reporting or handling a situation has gone out the window. And so you talked earlier in the show about there not being people in the middle. I'm pretty much in the middle. I'm extremely against both people. I'm not a Doc fan. I'm definitely not a Shams fan. And so for me, it's both. Both are bad. Both are wrong. There's probably little bits of truth in what everyone said in every clip we just played of Shams, in every clip we just played from Doc. I'm sure there's little truths, and that's how it goes with any argument. If you're dealing with your two boys, Trevor, and they come up to you and they go, Dad, he did this. Well, he did that. There's probably a little bit of some truth and a lot of lies built into both. And I feel like we're here as a fan base, being the parent, looking at these two kids, wanting to just send both of them to their room. Like there's not a clear winner. The only difference to me here, so I try to take a step back and look at this from like a motive position. So Doc is out, right? Like Doc has no responsibility to Giannis, to the Bucks, to anyone anymore, right? Like he's completely done. So to me, that kind of makes, especially depending on what Doc's trying to do next, I don't know what Doc gains from pushing a certain narrative besides just personal pride. Like I don't get why he would need to go a certain way. Shams, on the other hand, people have been saying forever that the way that ESPN covers certain sports, especially the small market teams, is terrible. We've seen it. I mean, ESPN used to have like, hey, we're just ESPN Chicago, and you're watching SportsCenter, get ready for an hour of LeBron highlights. And it was just, we've been used to that. Okay, well now ESPN takes in the reporters. Right now they're paying Shams to be the guy that goes and makes this content. I think it's insane to think that someone hasn't told Shams, hey, you are our content creator for the NBA. You are the one that is creating this that our people are going to go behind a desk and report on and talk about. The content you create, make it juicy. Throw some spice in there. And he has, and it's become a lot easier when the Bucks add fuel to that fire. You don't think that when Giannis put out that video from Wolf of Wall Street and the look on Shams' face when he had to go and say on ESPN, yep, they didn't trade Giannis, they decided to just keep him and whatever. You don't think that pissed him off? Oh, there's no way. He's still a human being. Shams is still a human being. So there's absolutely some emotion involved here on both sides. And so I'm not going to sit here and go, Shams is absolutely wrong. I'm not going to sit here and go, Shams has been absolutely right. I think that he's become childish, and that line that he said on McAfee about if the Bucks focused on this, well, okay, first of all, that's not your job to do. And then for him to back it up and be like, oh, wait. I got one more. Like you're feeding into this. You're feeding into this wrestling, WWE type drama that is being created, which also works with ESPN. It's all tying together. And it's a bad look for Shams when Doc really has nothing else he needs to fight for. He's done. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. He's not coaching anymore. He's done. Shams, you're still trying to do this job, no? Something to think about.
The interesting part about all of this is the idea of controlling the narrative. That's what Shams has done, and if anything, consistently over the course of the last 11 months. He's not backing down from what he said. Whereas a lot has already changed in the Milwaukee Bucks organization. The reports have come out about not playing Giannis for obvious reasons, protecting their asset. Giannis wanted to play. His brothers were in the mix. Doc gets fired or he steps down or whatever the report is on that. Which one do you believe? Not really sure. But at the end of the day, it's about controlling the narrative. And I think that's the hardest part about looking at this entire story is what's the narrative? And to what Josh just said, what's the reason behind it? Is there any type of hidden message? Is there a vendetta? How do we process all the things going on with the Bucks organization right now? And when it comes to a guy like Shams, who do we believe? 414-677-1250, the Nicolay Law talk and text line. We'll keep breaking this down and get your feedback when we come back. Live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. It's Inside Wisconsin Sports with Trevor and Josh. Good morning to Green Bay and the Fox Valley on 99.7 FM WNFL, 93.9 The Game in Wausau, 710 The Game in Duluth Superior, and 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan in Milwaukee. That is the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. We are inside Wisconsin Sports with Trevor and Josh, and we are continuing the conversation in the Malott Meats Morning Mind Dump that has us a little pickled between who to believe here. Is it Doc and what he says about Shams reporting and all the things that happened in the Bucs? Or is it Shams who came out yesterday with quite the narrative on the Pat McAfee show on ESPN saying, no, I'm right, they're wrong. Not only do I believe that, but I'm going to double down on all the things that I've reported about when it comes to Giannis. So how do we feel? 414-677-1250, the Nicolay Law talk and text line. As we would expect, there's a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And some people in the middle just going, enough's enough. There's some like the 262 that want to keep it radio friendly. We appreciate that and say screw Shams. And those people are loud. Jacob in a van says, I don't believe anything that Shams says. He has too long of a track record of being wrong. He's not a reporter. He's a hot take artist. The 262 above that says, I think I've told you this before, but we know someone who went to high school with Shams, and apparently he's always been a lying gossip. So a perfect career choice, eh? Yeah, pretty much. The 414, this is where it starts to turn a little bit, says two words, who cares? And then the 920, what a headache. Please trade Giannis and his brothers for a boatload of picks. Time to move on. The YouTube chat. We're live there on YouTube and on Twitter. If you want to join us on the video side, those calling some Shams reporting lies. What a liar. He's been talking about this stuff in the Bucs since before they won the title. Well, Shams says only 11 months. And so I think that's kind of where the interesting part of this lands. And that's where I land. I'm over it. I've been over it. I am over it, and I will be over it until something changes. And I, too, would say, along with the 920, if we want this headache to go away, then let's find the nucleus of the headache and make it go away. And the nucleus of this headache has been and will continue to be Giannis Antetokounmpo. And so my hot take here, if it's as hot as I can make it, is it's time to move on. If we don't like what Doc says about the team, and we don't like what Shams says about the team, and we don't like what John Horst says about the team, who came out and said, either we're going to trade him or we're going to sign him. The ownership group seems to be on that same page. If we're truly sick of this, then it's time to move on from Giannis, because this is what you get with a superstar athlete, and it doesn't matter the sport. Somebody earlier said it's only a matter of time until we do this with Jordan Love. We did it with Aaron Rodgers. We did it with Brett Favre. We're doing it right now with Giannis. And so if we really want the quote-unquote truth, then trade Giannis, and let's see what happens.
So if you're saying, like, we go through this with other athletes, what are you saying? Like, we just shouldn't have superstar athletes because we'll go through this with them every time? Like, I don't see that like you just said, like we went through this with Aaron Rodgers. We're going to go through this with Jordan Love. If we want this to go away, we got to move on from Giannis. I will say. So,
I'm saying about Shams. That's what
you're talking about. Yeah, I mean, obviously Shams doesn't report on NFL, but I'm saying
all the reporting. If we don't want to believe the reporting that's coming out from a source like Shams, who has been consistent and aplenty. Meaning he's been saying this for the past 11 months. Regardless of how we feel about him as a reporter, and regardless of what he's saying, the truth lies with the nucleus of the entire thing. And so if we're fed up with Shams, who still has a job, and we're fed up with Doc, who doesn't have a job, and we're fed up with a team who is out of the playoffs, and its superstar, who seems to say one thing behind closed doors and say another thing to the public, which is very normal for professional athletes that become superstars who forget they're a tradable commodity. And that's the hardest part about sports. The hardest part about professional sports, for sure, And it's even starting to rear its head in college sports. These kids / young adults who are doing what Jonathan Blackwell's doing and shopping himself around for the most money. There's a business side to this that few agree with on this side, meaning when it goes bad, when things get weird, when reporting doesn't always have your back, when it puts a team like the Bucks in a bad light. Well, bad news. This is all a business. That's why we're frustrated with Antetokounmpo's lack of conversation. That's why we're frustrated with the Antanasio family and the Brewers. It's a business. And so when we lose, we want our cake and eat it too from this position of, well, everything that Shams is saying isn't accurate, according to some. I'm simply sitting here going, just make the problem go away. The problem is Giannis. And we have to stop ignoring that. The whole nucleus of all of these issues with the Milwaukee Bucks is Antetokounmpo. And there's 3 of them. But the one main one is the problem. So what do we want, Bucks fans? Do we want to continue having this conversation and continuing to not agree with what Shams says and call him a liar and call him a gossip and all these things? Or did you want your team back?
Yeah,
if we want our team back, then we got to move on.
Do you want your team that isn't a successful team, that isn't discussed except for the once in a while conversation of disappointment, not worth talking about, sell the team type narratives?
You mean the last 2 years?
Through for a very, very long time.
You mean the last 2 years?
No. What are you talking about?
The Bucks have not been the team that won the NBA championship for years now.
Correct, but they were still competitive. There was still conversations about what they could be. They got Dame, then they got Miles Turner. They were putting things together. And as all that was happening, the national media narrative was the Bucks have to move on from Giannis.
The national media narrative
needs to get rid of Milwaukee. He needs
the
to
national media narrative
demand a trade.
Started that Giannis wanted to leave. That's how this started. No, last May, Shams said Giannis requested
that was specifically with Shams. I'm saying even before Shams got involved, the national media has been pushing this narrative. They've been doing it forever. Why would Giannis want to stay in Milwaukee Buck? If I was the Knicks, I would throw everything I had at this team. I think the Lakers should go after Giannis. They're looking for a piece. I'm sure that Giannis doesn't. He won a championship in 2021. It's time for him to move on. They've been saying that well beyond Shams starting to do what he's been doing over, as he says, the last 11 months. And my big thing is that even after Giannis is no longer a Milwaukee Buck, it's not like then all of a sudden you're going to see the national media and Shams be like, hey, the Bucks are great. Hey, the Bucks are doing good moves. Hey, now I'm going to be a professional reporter and just tell you the straight news and not give you my opinion. BS. That's not going to happen because, one, that doesn't move the needle. That doesn't get the retweets and the comments and everything that ESPN needs Shams to get them. That will continue if they talk about the Bucks at all. That's the only thing that changes based on what you said. When you talk about the nucleus of the issue being Giannis, the only way that that's true is because Giannis exists. We are simply saying at that point that if we don't want a bad reporter working for a company that used to have some reputation and try to be unbiased and just give you the news that now just plays to the bigger cities and markets, if you want them to stop talking badly about a small market team like your Milwaukee Bucks, the only way to do that is to not have nice things, is to not have a superstar like Giannis. Because even when we all thought the organization and Giannis were walking hand in hand and couldn't be communicating with each other better, the national media still tried to tear them apart. They still tried to work their fingers in to be like, Giannis shouldn't be here. Giannis is too big for Milwaukee. The Stephen A's, I mean, you go out there, it's all been the same. Shams was supposed to be a reporter. He was supposed to be different than a talking head that appeared on some ESPN or First Take, whatever show. He hasn't been. That's the problem. He's added emotion into this because he's been called out on some of these reports. He's become exactly the same as them, and that's the frustrating thing. But I'm telling you, getting rid of Giannis does not make it sunshine and rainbows with reporting or coverage of a small market team like the Milwaukee Bucks. It's not going to happen. And so I'll go back to the same thing I said before. Your argument of Giannis being the nucleus and needing to be the problem to go, I'm telling you, look at what happens next. Tell me what happens next. It is not going to be good for the Bucks. We're going to cover the Bucks just the same as we did, but now it's going to be all positive things because the problem was Giannis. Not going to happen. They are following the juiciest story, and that just happens to be Giannis. That's why in small market teams, we either have to deal with the national media doing this, or we suck, and then they don't talk about us at all. That's it. Those are the extremes. Those are the only two options we get. It just is the way it is. We're not New York. We're not Chicago. We're not LA. They're not going to give us good coverage. Just not going to happen.
If that's the truth, though, Josh, then why did they cover the Brewers so well last year? Why did they, as in the national media, fall in love with the Milwaukee Brewers and the success and the hottest team in baseball? Why was the small market okay to cover then, but it's not without Giannis?
How much were they really giving? If you go back and you look, how much was the national media, was ESPN, was Ken Rosenthal, were these reporters giving the Brewers before they had to? It's the same thing as when the Bucks in 2021, 2020, even beforehand, forced the national media to have to say a nice thing. And still they didn't. They said, Milwaukee's a terrible city. Man, I'm hoping that this team wins because I don't want to have to go to Milwaukee to cover the NBA Finals. Those were the things they said because they don't want, like us, they don't want to be here. If you force their hand because you're winning, then yeah, they got to talk about it. Then they have to say something. And so that's what the Brewers did last year. They'd much rather be covering Ohtani and Aaron Judge. Of course. Are you kidding me? New York and LA, the biggest guns. They were ecstatic to see the Dodgers sweep the Brewers. Perfect. The luck ran out for the small market Milwaukee Brewers. They just couldn't hold their own to the Dodgers. Ohtani. Like that was the national narrative. That was what they wanted to push. And so the second that the Bucks aren't good and the Bucks can't force them to say nice things because they're winning, because winning changes everything, they pounce. See? The Bucks are in a bad spot. Giannis has got to leave. They got to trade Giannis. This whole relationship is terrible. We've been saying it for years. They got to get him out because we left him an opening because we didn't win.
414-677-1250, the Nicolay Law Talk and Text Line on a Take Back Tuesday. Anything come out of your mouth in the last few weeks that you go, gotta take that back, should probably take that back, want to take that back? Plus, Sunday was the debut of Sunday Night Baseball on NBC, and one particular half of this program showed up for about a tenth of a second after standing and partaking for literally hours at AmFam Field. But finally, the statute of limitations in regards to the NDA have worn off, and Josh can talk about it. We'll cover that next when we get back on Inside Wisconsin Sports with Trevor and Josh, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook.
You know, mornings can all start to feel the same, so if you're looking for a fresh wake-up call, look no further than Wendy's Breakfast. Try a breakfast Baconator with fresh cracked eggs and crispy bacon, a grilled sausage or bacon breakfast burrito, or maybe even a honey buddy. And don't even think about sleeping on Wendy's seasoned potatoes. Doesn't matter what you go for, it's going to change your life. Well, it'll at least freshen up your morning. Are you ready for a fresh wake-up call? If so, it's got to be Wendy's.
The Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, inside Wisconsin Sports with Trevor and Josh. On a Take Back Tuesday, Josh, one of the main questions people had for you after all the standing that you did at AmFam Field for the Sunday Night Baseball promo shoot is, do you take it back? Mm-hmm. Was it worth all of that for the 10th of a second? The back side and maybe a little bit of your left side and the glasses in the hat showed up on screen.
Yeah, so let's first set the scene. If you are unfamiliar or you missed this part of the show, a while back there was a not publicized report that came out that they were going to be filming a Sunday Night Baseball intro at American Family Field, and they were looking for extras. You got paid. You had to fill out the form. You had to submit like a headshot and everything else. I did it as a joke, thinking like, I'm hideous. They're not going to choose me. And they were like, hey, we'll see you there. I was like, oh, okay. So I decided to do it. And it was 8.5 hours. It was a lot of standing. It was hearing the same music over and over and over again. And they were getting different angles, different things of the same scene to put this together. We were fans at a concert, essentially, of Zac Brown Band, which we were also not allowed to say until that was announced in a preview clip that came out. But as they went through this, there were multiple hours where the cameras were just pointed at the fans, at you and I and whoever else was there that were extras, getting our faces, getting us cheering, getting us doing all these different dances and whatever else they needed us to do. And I said, this whole thing is going to be 2 minutes long at the longest. We're going to maybe see ourselves for 15 seconds in this as they are moving us around and making us do all these things. I found myself in the video. I had to stop it. I had to go frame by frame. And at the 59-second mark, if you pause it, you can see almost a profile side view of me in my colored shirt, wearing a hat. That was it. That's it. That's all they used.
Not the 59-second mark, the 59/10th second mark.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't stop it at the right time, or go to @OnAirJosh on Twitter and look at the red arrow where he's pointing at you going, it's me. Got it.
Yeah. I mean, it's literally, it was, if I didn't get paid, Trevor, I think I would definitely take it back.
Okay.
It was a one-time, okay, I'll do this. This is the song, by the way, that I listened to for 9 hours. With a little help from Guardians and whoever.
To the show that never ends. We're so glad you could attend. Come inside, come inside. Been waiting all day for the stars to come and play. Now we just gotta say it's been too long, been too long. Sunday
now they say clap, clap, clap. Okay, now we're clapping. Yep. They're not actually singing. They're just lip syncing, moving their mouths on stage. Okay, yeah, all right. Now the beat's going to drop. Here we go. Everyone ready? And jump. Woo! Okay, fireworks. Woo! All right, and dance.
Sunday Night Baseball.
Party up and down.
What a pitch. Up in the zone, and he got it out of here.
Now we're swaying to this part. Back to jumping. This for 9 hours. 9 hours straight. We're hearing this. It's almost done.
Come on. See the show.
And then the director would go, all right, that was great. Let's run it back right from the top. Let's do it again.
Good calf workout.
And we would do that over and over and over again. But they would just move the camera from it was behind us to on the stage in front of us. Then they let the band leave for like an hour when they just got us. Then they brought the band back out. And all of that to not use a single shot facing the crowd and just the back of your heads for a tenth of a second.
You almost saw that coming, right?
Perfect. Totally.
Were you in the stands? I know we talked about this a while back, but you couldn't really talk much about the specifics. You were in the stands, and where was the band? Like, give us that picture.
Yeah. So third baseline, they had us down right against where the netting would be. Obviously, they pulled the netting away. They built a stage to be right up against the seats.
Kind of like where the tarp is.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And the stage actually went over the railing, right? So they built the stage to go over it, and it kind of even went out into the first row of seats. And then they had like a green screen kind of behind the stadium, and then they had like the pyrotechnics and everything else. But it was right there, right in that little area.
Are you a Zach Brown Band fan?
Not a huge one. No.
Didn't sway you one way or the other?
Yeah, I don't think it would have mattered. It could have been anybody. Like, if I'm hearing the same 45 seconds to a minute over and over and over again that long, and they're having us do the same thing as crowd members, it's not even like, all right, now we're going to have you guys do something. It was the same thing as we're doing to the same music. So repetitive. We didn't even realize for the first 2 hours that they weren't even recording us at all. Like, we were going, woo, and cheering, and they were just doing close-ups of the band. And we were like, someone could have told us, like, hey, you don't have to be jumping. Like, we're not getting you guys at all in these scenes. They didn't say anything. So after 2 hours of jumping for no reason, then they were like, all right, now we're going to get you guys in some shots. And we went, oh, what have we been doing? It was a lot.
Do you think their instruments were actually hooked up to the sound system, or was it all just
I know for a fact it wasn't. Like, even there were guys doing on like bongos, and like it was hilarious seeing them like fake hit the bongos. Like, no instruments were actually being strummed, hit, sang into, none of it. It was all fake.
If I would have gone there for that and knew that it was going to be a long night, like they told you it was going to be, and it was supposed to be for a promo, and the Zach Brown Band is 25 yards away from me, and I don't hear chicken fried as a thank you, I'm pissed.
Oh, we didn't hear anything as a thank you. So it was just that. And it wasn't even them singing it. It was pre-recorded.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yep. But hey, you can freeze it. You can freeze it and see me right there. I am interested to see, because they did so much other recording. Like, they had us do this thing where they said they were going to superimpose us to fill a stadium. So they had us to where we would be dancing for 10 seconds and then move 10 seats to the right, and then dance for 10 seconds to like recreate a crowd. That part of what they did with us took like 2.5 hours. None of it used. And so I'm curious to see throughout the season if maybe they switch that in as like a going to break. Something gets used. It just seems like a lot of wasted footage. I don't know.
Well, a minute and a half-ish worth of footage made it, and the rest of the 9 hours gone. Chris McIntosh gone from Madison, and there's quite the mess. A lot of limp-sicking going on at UW right now. What's the best way forward? Who should be the next AD? But maybe, what is the next AD's path? We'll talk about that next on Inside Wisconsin Sports with Trevor and Josh, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. I am an eternal optimist. So please, God, don't tell me that you're an eternal pessimist.
I like to say I'm a realist.
Oh, it's great. We're going to get along great. This is going to be great.
This is Inside Wisconsin Sports with Trevor and Josh.
Crowd is here, about to blow, waiting for me to start the show. Out the curtain, lights go up from home. Whoa!
Listen, the reality of everything in Milwaukee is this. If they spent as much time dealing with their own internal dynamics and problems as they do responding to accurate reports, they wouldn't be in the mess that they're in right now. I'm just focused on doing the job at the highest of levels that I possibly can.
What's up, Wisconsin? Welcome back. Hour number 3 of Inside Wisconsin Sports. Trevor Thomas, Josh Albrecht.
Hi.
The Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Audio from Pat McAfee yesterday via ESPN. And Shams saying, la, 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 can't hear you. I'm just going to do what I'm doing and double down and triple down and quadruple down. And I guess that's just the way it's going to be. We'll see how the saga continues.
Yeah, or if it wanted to just end.
The saga will not end in Wisconsin, or will it, in terms of the Wisconsin Badgers and what's going on with the athletic department there? In case you missed it, Chris McIntosh said, peace out. I am no longer the athletic director of this very university and its programs. To which many people yesterday went, huh? I thought you were you played here and you're loyal, like you're from Pewaukee. Yeah, you are. Remember, before the Watts, you were the Pewaukee guy. And now you're like, I'm out.
Yeah, you're just moving on. Stunned.
Don't look at me. Don't look at me. The problem with the current setup, or lack thereof, is football. Yesterday, Josh and I talked a lot about this, and many people on the Nicolay Law talk and text line, 414-677-1250, were quick to point out how well the women's hockey team did this year in winning the national championship, or how well the volleyball team has done, or how well the UW men's hockey team did. It's not that Badger basketball sucks. It's just that college sports on the basketball side and the men's side is quite the hot mess at the moment. But none of that trumps football. It doesn't even come close to trumping football. For Wisconsin Badgers football itself, UW Athletics estimates that home football games generate almost $74 million in annual economic impact in Madison and $134 million annually in the state of Wisconsin. Not when football sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, football sucks.
Yep. Losing does not help.
So we got to fix that. And I'm wondering what the best way to is through the chair of the Wisconsin athletic director. 414-677-1250, the Nicolay Law talk and text line. If you've been paying attention at all to Wisconsin athletics, you noticed that when Chris McIntosh came in, that was Barry Alvarez's choice for the job. He still had to get the job, but it was certainly the quote-unquote deputy athletic director, which is the seat that the current interim athletic director at Wisconsin holds, Marcus Sedberry. But Marcus has been there with Chris since 2022, and Marcus, starting in 2025, was the football general manager. And so if football's the problem, and everything trickles down from football, or trickles up in terms of $134 million annually, then we have to choose something moving forward, someone moving forward that is going to change or maybe bring football back to where it was and where it needs to be.
My question is it possible for the change that needs to happen to truly take place if Luke Fickell is still there? Like, can that change really happen before this season? I feel like whoever's coming in to this role, like, is either already going to be looking for their next football head coach or is in a tight spot to where they're not going to be able to truly change what needs to be changed.
Well, we talked to Joe Thomas about that yesterday.
We did.
He joined us here on Inside Wisconsin Sports, and he had a lot to say in regards to the timing and what it meant for Luke Fickell, and how we all know that Luke Fickell and Chris McIntosh and the chancellor at UW-Madison were all kind of connected at the hip in regards to the way and where UW athletics was headed. The change, I think, is going to be a lot like the change at the helm of the Green Bay Packers. In comes Ed Policy, and what does he do for his first year?
Nothing.
Silence.
Right.
Silence by design. And now has had meetings and has had vision planning and has had strategic conversations about where the Green Bay Packers need to be, both on the field and off the field, in terms of viability and revenue and all the things that we saw hit the news about naming rights of Lambeau Field and blah, 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 blah. The same thing's going to happen at Wisconsin.
See, I'm not a fan of that. I've been a pretty big proponent of not being satisfied with what Ed Policy has done in Green Bay, of coming in, staying silent, and then going, I like this consistent 7 seed, mediocre seasons from the Green Bay Packers. Let's keep everyone the same. Keep this, what we have in place, the same. I would be super disappointed if the Badgers come out, they have even a somewhat better season, but still disappointing season with Luke Fickell there, and then goes, all right, we're going to extend Luke. They did a little bit better, and I think we can continue to grow. And I think that's my point, is like, I think, would you say, Trevor, that Luke Fickell, his job was more on the hot seat than Matt LaFleur's?
Oh, God, yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
But to expect an athletic director to come in, well, first off, needs to be found. Who's going to hire him? We don't know.
Right.
We don't know who's going to hire him or how that process is going to go. But the question is not so much should Luke Fickell change. It's, does the vision and direction of the UW and how it's currently operating the football program need to change? Take the head coach out of it for a hot second. We just learned that finally this year, Wisconsin football is back to building a wall around the state of Wisconsin. For the love of God, can we keep the talent that we have here in the state on the football side of things in the state? That's what Barry Alvarez did so well. Well, when Chris McIntosh brought in Luke Fickell, some of those principles and values didn't come along with him because the NIL era and all the things that are college athletics. But even if we take that out, because you can only control so much, what is the direction of the athletic director's chair? Should it be someone with Wisconsin ties? Should it be someone that Barry Alvarez thinks would be a good fit? Should it be somebody completely different that has no idea where Wisconsin is on the map? Much like when guys get drafted by the Packers back in the day. Where? Green Bay. Holy cow, that's cold up there. Okay, here we go. So what's the right way to? And regardless of change and what's going to happen with Luke Fickell, we're going to watch that play out this year, 100% chance, unless they go find the athletic director that brought him into Cincinnati, which then get your popcorn ready because I think we're stuck with him for a hot second. But what's the best way to? 414-677-1250, the Nicolay Law Talk and text line. Do we need to get out of the shadow of Barry Alvarez? It's not that we don't want to ignore the fact what Barry did here, but do we need to get out of his shadow?
I think out of the 3 options you gave, that just completely random person is the best one. I don't care about the Wisconsin ties. I don't care about what Barry thinks. I think all of that needs to go. I think this isn't a situation where you need to be homers going, okay, yeah, but this guy didn't grow up in Sheboygan. This guy doesn't know Wisconsin winners. I don't care about that. I care about, can this guy get the athletics programs to where they need to be, period. I don't care where he was born or grew up. I'm not going to be hanging out with you. I'm not going to be talking about you a lot unless you do a tremendous job. So I don't care about any of the personal stuff. I care about how he can do his job. And so I think that is what makes the most sense. It does not need to be, I don't even care if he knows who Barry Alvarez is. Doesn't matter. Can you, as the athletic director, get the most money in, get the best coaches, to help recruit the best players to win the most games in all of the sports, period. That's it.
But mainly in football.
But
yes,
mainly
to
in
all
football.
of the sports, but if football doesn't work, the rest of it doesn't work.
Right. You got to start with football.
So do we need somebody with a football mind? Do we? That's the hard part about this.
But isn't his job to hire the football mind? Like, isn't that like he's not running?
We
the
just
team?
saw that. We just saw the guy come in that chose the football mind that he thought was going to be the right football mind. And listen, there's a lot of people that are saying, "Hold on, don't pile on Fickell. He's had a ton of injuries at quarterback. There's little to no excuse for not being ready for the NIL, Wisconsin athletics in general, who all of a sudden just found a bag of money." I mean, it's a little bit like Marquette's basketball team, how they kind of ignored the fact that they were going to have to pay to play. They didn't really participate in this kind of stuff in the past, at least not from above the table, allegedly. College sports in general, let's be honest.
Yeah, right.
So if we're going to get back to the ways of winning at Wisconsin football, what's the best way to? And that's the process that I think all of us are trying to process. Is what's the process going to be to get us back there? Because if we don't, we got bigger fish to fry.
Yeah. I think also it's important to note about the chancellor. Like, there are multiple positions on the hierarchy table that need to be filled here. Like, I don't think the athletic director gets chosen first, right? So if we're looking for an answer of who's going to be the next AD, I'm not expecting that's the first story to break out of Madison. There should be another one that comes first, and then that person's hiring the athletic director, right?
Presumably.
Okay.
But how long is that going to take, and who's that going to be? Tomorrow at this time, we're scheduled to talk to Doug Gottlieb, who came out yesterday and said they won't do it, but they should hire Michael Alexander, the chancellor at UW Green Bay, and Josh Moon, the athletic director at UW Green Bay. They run a pretty amazing ship. They've done an incredible job at fundraising. They know what it means to bring students into a university on an increasing basis. UW Green Bay is one of, if not the only systems in the UW system that's actually growing and like exponentially in a good way. But if you asked Chancellor Alexander, what helps a university grow is success in athletics.
Yeah.
It just is what it is.
I like this text here from the 920 on the Nicolay Law Fan Talking text line. Says, I don't think it's all McIntosh's fault, but if you're the captain of the ship, you go down with the ship. You don't run off right before it sinks and look for another job. So I think that that's important because for us as fans looking at the program, it allowed us to either diagnose the problem as they needed more money. These guys were the guys for the job. They needed money. They got the money. Now we saw success. Or if it still didn't work, then it allowed us to have a clean slate and go, okay, you're both gone. I think that there is something to this with McIntosh bailing, that something happened beyond closed doors. There was something to where McIntosh did say in doing this, I don't believe in the process. I don't believe that we're able to get here and that I would continue being the athletic director. He saw, I need to take a pay cut. I need to go do a different job because this isn't a long-term solution for me personally, which should be a huge red flag to fans of Badgers athletics. So that's the first one. But then also, I do think that the fact that then you still have Luke Fickell does play a little bit of a role, because now it's going to still have more questions. When they decide who this next athletic director is, it's going to be, okay, so now what was the problem? Was it the problem that there wasn't an athletic director? Was it the problem that McIntosh left? Do we need to give Fickell another year now that the new athletic director's settled in? To where if McIntosh stays, it's pretty cut and dry. You get your answers based on how the season goes. You know what the next steps are based on how the season goes. This makes it a little bit more messy, to where unless things are fantastic and the Badgers just do a complete 180, you're left with your hands up going, I don't know. I'm not really sure what the next move is. I don't like that. That's not a good feeling for the future of Badger athletics.
Well, luckily for Wisconsin football fans, there's another team that wears a yellow helmet that's in a pretty good spot. At least we think they're going to be. Maybe that's a question we should ask Andy Herman. He joins us next, the Pack-A-Day podcast on Inside Wisconsin Sports with Trevor and Josh live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Inside Wisconsin Sports with Trevor and Josh. And joining us now on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network guest hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. Dude, how are you? Good to see you. Long time no talk, Andy Herman, the Pack a Day podcast. What's up, bud?
It's been far too long. Doing great. How the heck are you guys doing?
Good, buddy.
All's well here. And all is well in Green Bay, but we know that you're a football mind in general. So can we just run this past you before we go to the Packers and the draft? How are you going to fix the Wisconsin Badgers athletic department, specifically the football program, now that Chris McIntosh took his ball and he's going home?
I have no idea. Is that good radio? I have no idea where you even begin. It's such a complex question because obviously the women's hockey team, fantastic. Men's hockey team just finished second place in the Frozen Four. They had a heck of a run. Badgers football team is an absolute nightmare. Badgers basketball team, like every other college team, needs more NIL money. I think for the most part, Greg Gard's done a good job with it. John Blackwell leaving, not fun. It's a very nuanced conversation if you look at the entire sports program on the whole. And I'm sure I'm forgetting some. Volleyball has been really good for Wisconsin. Am I not?
Yeah, they've been doing well. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a nuanced conversation. I think that it just starts and ends with, you've got to figure out Badger football. It's nowhere near good enough. And that has to be the 1A thing on your list to fix. And whoever can come in and do that. And again, I don't have any great, wonderful, grand ideas for it. But if they can find somebody, go for it and figure out the football program first and foremost.
Well, do you have any great, wonderful, grand ideas for the Packers in the draft? I guess we'll just transition there and act like the Wisconsin piece didn't even come up.
Who are the rumored names for Wisconsin first? Is there buzz or anything? No,
you're the first one. It's you.
We signed you up.
I'm in.
We nominated Andy Herman.
What would be the
there
first
are no
thing, like you would even like just you fire Fickle right away? What's the first
That's
line?
What I said. That's literally what I said, Andy. Of like, I don't know. Like the fact that he left and didn't take Fickle with him, like what a tough spot to be in to start your career as an AD at Wisconsin. Ugh.
Yeah. Good luck. Yeah, but sorry. Draft stuff. Yeah. What do we want to cover? We can go in a million different directions. Where do you guys want to start?
I want to start here. So the draft is next week, Thursday.
Indeed.
And even though on this show, we've like spent multiple days going, man, can't believe the draft's a month away. Can't believe the draft's 3 weeks away. Can't believe it's next week. I just have not been paying attention at all. It just feels completely different than past years. Is this just because we don't have a first round pick? Why does this feel so different in regards to being excited about the NFL draft?
It's a really interesting question. And I think I'm in a unique place to answer it because as somebody who talks Packers 365 days and have done this for a long time, I can see trends of where like Packers interest is. I can see what times of year the fans spike and when they're super interested and other times where maybe they're indifferent. And so far, I would say this draft cycle has felt a little bit more on the indifferent side. And it was interesting because as soon as the Packers traded for Micah Parsons, I knew in the back of my mind, I'm like, this is incredible in the here and the now from just a pure content standpoint. And for me, what I do, from a business standpoint, I'm like, this is incredible. We actually got the NFL draft, just as a full disclosure, is our most watched, most downloaded, most viewed, most everything time of the entire year. There's really nothing that comes close. The start of the regular season, start of camp is pretty close, but draft is just, it peaks at an insane level. And when they traded for Micah, it hit for like a week. It hit like it was a full NFL draft for that week. And I'm like, this is insane. This is incredible. Obviously they got Micah. That's the most important piece, but I saw like a draft level spike, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, but for the next 2 NFL drafts, it is not going to be that normal level spike. And lo and behold, for the most part so far, that has held true. I think it's a variety of different reasons. I think the first thing is, of course, just not having a first round pick. That certainly, I think, is a little bit of a buzzkill. And we as a draft industrial complex spend so much inordinate time. Almost every mock draft is a first round mock draft. who are the Packers going to take in the first round? It's first round. And so much of the draft industry is just covering that first round pick. It's why the stakes are so high. It's why we, despite having unbelievable 2nd through 7th rounds in the history of Green Bay, if you miss on LVN, if you miss on Eric Stokes, if you miss on that first round pick, it feels like the end of the world because we spend so much time on the first round picks. So when you don't have one, just inherently, it's not going to be as exciting. I think the other thing is, when you come off a season that's disappointing, 2023 to 2024, for example, that stretch when they had a beautiful end of 2023, I know they lost to San Fran at the end of that, but like the hope was unbelievable. Like everybody couldn't get enough Packers content following that 2023 season because the arrow was pointing upwards. They went out and spent in free agency. They got Jeff Hafley that offseason, and everything was just trending great. And also, again, there were some big free agent signings. This year, it's like, well, you finished on a 5-game losing streak. And, you got a new defensive coordinator, but you lost Jeff Hafley in this instance. There hasn't been, Javon Hargrave is fun. Benjamin St. Juste is fun, but there haven't been those Josh Jacobs, Xavier McKinney signings. So there hasn't been that momentum for Packers season either, like we've seen in some previous years, especially going into this draft. And the other thing is just, it's not a particularly amazing draft either. It's a fine draft. It's an okay draft, but it's not one of the strongest drafts either. So I think you combine all of those things into one matzo ball of like, meh. And I think that's where a lot of Packers fans are for this draft so far.
At Andy Herman NFL, Andy Herman, the Pack a Day podcast, joining us on Inside Wisconsin Sports with Trevor and Josh. Is there any chance that we go back into the first round? I mean, we got 8 picks now. Goody likes to wheel and deal.
Yeah, so I actually took a look at this, and one of my favorite episodes to do every single year is I take a look at not only like what the trade value chart would say, but I take a look at trades that have actually happened in the NFL, like historically, like ones that have taken place around pick 52, 84, etc. So first of all, from just a trade value chart, I always like the Rich Hill chart. If you're looking to try to get to pick 32, it would take Green Bay's 52, 84, and 120 picks. So they're 2nd, 3rd, and 4th to get to just pick 32. That would get them to the bottom of round 1, and that would get them a first round pick. Historically, the Minnesota Vikings actually in 2013, traded up, and they were actually able to get to pick 29. I'm just bringing up the trade here. It was basically a 2nd, a 3rd, a 4th, and a 6th to get to pick 29. And again, Green Bay has the almost the exact same draft capital in order to do that. So what I would say is, let's just say it's the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th to get up to 32, right? That would leave Green Bay basically with a 1st, 2 5ths, 2 7ths, and maybe a 6th if they didn't have to give up that one. If anybody thinks that Goody is going to end up with a 1st, 2 5ths, and 2 7ths at the end of this draft, I think it would be one of the more. I know he just traded for Micah, and you never quite know, but I think it would be one of the most stunning things. The other reason I think would be one of the most stunning things is it's really difficult to pinpoint the player that they would want to move up for in that scenario. Maybe maybe like a Colton Hood at corner or a Chris Johnson at corner. That feels very aggressive for that type of player. I don't think there's a defensive tackle / nose tackle that's really worth giving up your 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and maybe 6th round picks at that particular spot in the draft. And it's just, again, it's really difficult to pinpoint that player that they would have. That I don't think there's an edge rusher at that time. I don't even think there's an offensive lineman worth it at that time. So it's just really tough to say, yeah, here's who they would go and get. It would probably behoove them more to stay kind of put at that point.
So moving up to the first round might not make a lot of sense. Do you think that Goody chooses depth over packaging anything together? I feel like, Andy, that the fact that the season was so much last year talked about with injuries and having to go past your 3rd stringers because the injury bug was just played such a role, that then when we see all of these trades for picks and what he's done for picks, that the idea of just having bodies becomes way more important in Brian Gutekunst's mind. Is that a path that you see being true?
I would just switch one word in there. I would say swings. I think they want, or bites at the apple. I don't think it's bodies. I think they want more chances. I think, if you look at what Goody and Ted and even Ron Wolf have done, they just like more opportunity. It's a lottery at the end of the day. Even the best of the best at this get a lot of stuff wrong. If you want to be the best draft analyst in the world, just say that every player is going to fail, because you are going to have a bigger hit rate than any other draft analyst, because the vast majority of the players in any given draft are going to fail. So I just think they love having extra bites at the apple. They love having extra swings. And so I do think that you're probably going to see him try to accumulate more draft picks. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that he can't be more aggressive. I think there's a real chance that he tries to get up maybe 7 spots, maybe even 10 spots to go grab somebody like a Kristen Miller or a Chris Johnson if he is there, towards the, maybe pick 42, 44, something like that. I could easily see that taking place. Maybe he has to give up a 4th round pick to do that. But then maybe he takes his 3rd round pick and moves it down, 10 or 11 spots and picks up a 4th round pick by doing that. Like, I think you're going to see a lot of maneuvering. I do think a couple things. I think there's going to be a good amount of trades in this draft, because I think there's a lot of value between, I think, pick like 25 and 125 that's very similar, and it's going to sort of be an eye of the beholder sort of thing. I also think this is going to be a buyer's market to trade up. I think most teams are going to be looking to trade down in this draft. So, and we talked about it before, it would normally take Green Bay's like 2nd, 3rd, and 4th to get up to one, end of 1st round pick, for example. I could see that this year being like, it's a 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, but you get like a 5th round pick back. Or I could see some things like that where it's not quite as taxed this year, because again, I think most people are looking at that, again, pick 25 to 125 and saying, these are all very, very similar players. We would rather have 2 or 3 of the players from pick 25 to 125 than moving up and just getting one of those who there's probably not much difference in a guy that you're getting in the 4th round.
But right now we have 8 picks, and there's guys on the board in the Packers draft room that we would like to get. If you were to try to bust down the positions that the Packers are going to go after, here's what I wrote down. 2 offensive linemen, 2 defensive linemen, 1 wide receiver, 1 tight end, and 2 cornerback / safety spots if we're just trying to fill the 8. Okay. What do you have?
All right. So I for sure think that they will grab at least 1, if not 2 corners. I think you always look at what they like to do, not only now, but in advance. Next year, the only corner under contract right now in 2027 is Benjamin St. Juste, and it's basically what amounts to a team option. They can release him with very limited dead money. So their corner room is very bare in 2027. So I would expect them to come out of this with at least a couple corners. Certainly,
okay, got it. We match on that. There's not going to be much we match on because I'm so bad at this. You're the expert. But right now, 1 for 1. Keep going.
We love it. All right. So at least 1 interior defensive lineman. I would say at least 2 offensive linemen. And then I think you get a little bit more in the grab bag category. Now, edge rusher, for example, to me, edge rusher is very interesting because I think they can use one in the 2nd or 3rd round to a pretty large extent. I think adding another really talented edge rusher to this team is important, especially when Mike is out to begin the year, or if you do have a Micah or LVN injury throughout the year, you're very thin at that spot. What I don't actually think you need is like a 4th through 7th round edge rusher. You have Colin Oliver, you have Baron Sorrell, you have Bretton Cox, you have some young up and coming edge rushers ready. It's not to say you can't take one, but you already have that tier of edge player. So if you get one early, I think it makes a lot of sense. Taking another one in like the 6th round, unless there's just somebody you love, I don't think makes a ton of sense. And then I think you could go backup quarterback if you really liked one. I absolutely think that they could go running back. I absolutely think if they found a blocking tight end, they could go tight end. So I think like after those, those first few positions that we talked about, you very much get into BPA, best player available, and you could go in a variety of different directions. Wide receiver, too. Sorry.
Andy, on Friday, the kind of a news dump of sorts, but the Packers traded Dontavian Wicks. You brought up wide receiver there, and they trade him to the Eagles. They get a 5th round pick this year and a 6th round pick next year. What were your thoughts on that decision by the Packers?
Yeah, thankfully, I did an episode on wide receiver trades about a week and a half, 2 weeks before this hit. So I don't have to look at it in green and gold tinted glasses afterwards. I know what my take was before it took place. So I basically said, they have the depth at wide receiver. And one of the things that I really pinpointed is I really do think that they want to take a wide receiver in this draft, because next year, right now, your only receivers under contract are Savion Williams and Matthew Golden. Wicks was going to be a free agent. Watson's a free agent. Reed's a free agent. All of them. Sky Moore is going to be a free agent, etc. So I thought they were going to want to get ahead of that by 1 year. That's what they usually like to do. Now, I think Watson will be back. I think they'll have contract negotiations with Jaden Reed to see if they can work something out. But you still want to get ahead of that and start taking that player to start grooming them for the following season. If Wicks was on the team and if all of these receivers were on the team, you basically would have had to have kept 7 or 8 wide receivers just to keep that additional player. You didn't have the room for it. In addition, I really think Matthew Golden and Savion Williams really needed opportunity for more snaps. You're not going to take Jaden Reed or Christian Watson off the field a whole heck of a lot. So I think you wanted to provide that opportunity for them. And I'm sure Wicks in a contract year was also somebody that's like, I can't be wide receiver 4.5 in my contract year. I've got to go out and be able to find a spot. He finds that in Philly where he's going to get a much better chance, and he gets a $12.5 million contract extension. So that works for him. But what I was going to say is, on that episode, I said, in order to trade Dontavian Wicks, you have to get a 4th round pick to really consider it. And in this trade, they get a 5th and a 6th, which it's an early 5th, and the 6th round pick would be enough to get up into the 4th if they used both of those picks together. It is the exact same equivalent for a 4th round pick. So to me, I think they did well. And what you just have to look at in these deals, I know we get so caught in the trap of what does a 5th round pick this year and a 6th round pick next year do to help us win the Super Bowl this year? And it's a fine, fair argument. I get it. I understand it. But in the world of an NFL or any general manager, you can't just look at 2026. You have to look at the entire, organization and the long-term future as well. And where you start looking at is, if you came to the conclusion that Dontavian Wicks was not going to get re-signed in 2027, which is probably the conclusion that they got to. They probably didn't want to get to that $12.5 million number. Then you have to have the debate. What is better? 1 year of Dontavian Wicks as your 4.5 wide receiver, or would you rather start rebuilding and get the next Dontavian Wicks by getting a 5th round pick this year, which is what you spent on him in the first place, which is going to be a 4-year contract on a super cheap deal, and a 6th rounder next year, which is another 4-year contract on a super cheap deal. The long-term thinking would say the draft picks are better than just the 1 year of a number 4 wide receiver at best on your team. I can certainly understand why they went in that direction.
Andy Herman, the Pack a Day podcast. Unmute your mic, Trev, when you're coughing on this side. So what's your take on the offseason? Before we really flush that and go into the draft and moving forward, knowing that we need offensive line help, defensive line, all the things that we just talked about. How have you processed this offseason?
I would say that at this point, it feels a bit incomplete, I think is the best way to word that. I think a couple things. I think they're obviously going to be, aggressive in the draft, trying to acquire some players that are still going to fill some of these needs. We talked about corner, interior defensive line, edge offensive linemen. I think they're going to really want to fill some of those spots. And I'm hoping that as we get to next Saturday at the end of the day, we feel a lot better about a couple of the holes on this team. I also think the second wave of free agency starts the Tuesday after the NFL draft. That is when compensatory picks no longer count towards free agent signings don't count towards the compensatory pick formula. And if Green Bay wants to go out and get somebody like a DJ Reader, or if they want to go out and get a Joey Bosa, or somebody like that, I could see them, depending on what happens in the draft, if there's still an empty spot on the roster, to be able to go and do that in that second wave of free agency. I don't know if it's going to be anybody that important or anybody that noteworthy, but I do think you're going to see probably a couple free agent signings following the draft, or maybe a trade for a veteran, backup quarterback or something like that during the draft, where I just think you start feeling a little bit more complete with the roster. I just think right now, none of the players that they have lost this offseason, am I really losing any sleep over whatsoever? I think they have pretty good replacement options in place in a lot of spots, but I do not feel great about corner. I don't think anybody that I know does. I don't feel great that they have a true nose tackle. If you were starting a game this weekend, Javon Hargrave probably has to play that nose tackle position, which quite frankly, I don't love. And after that, it's Jonathan Ford, Nasir Stackhouse. I don't love that either. And offensive line is still to me, a major concern. I have questions about the starting lineup. I have hope for the starting offensive lineup. One of the most questioning things I have of this offseason is sticking with Luke Butkus and not going somewhere different after a very disappointing year on the offensive line. But the depth there, I have questions at right guard with Anthony Belton. And then if Darian Kennard is your top backup, I don't feel great about that. We don't know Monk. We don't know Travis Glover and things like that. I think they need a lot of depth there. So I would say incomplete. And I still think there's some spots that they really need to address going into the season.
Andy, last one for me. So the big thing that I looked at and that a lot of fans looked at the end of last year was, all right, where's the goalpost? What's the expectation for next season, knowing that Matt LaFleur gets extended, the trio stays together, they get their extensions. And I think if you can't finish with that 7 seed, no matter what, that has to be the bare minimum improvement is you're getting above that 7 seed. What do you think that minimum expectation is for this team? And do you think that they've either made the move or will make a move to make you feel more confident about getting above that expectation?
Yeah, to me, I don't really care about the seed. I do care about the results once you get there. Have to make the playoffs, have to get at minimum a playoff win, in my opinion. Anything below that is going to feel like you're just stuck in neutral. It already feels, I know for a lot of people that way already, but another, first round playoff exit or worse is going to feel like neutral or taking a step back. I think the expectations for this team are still insanely high. You are still in a pretty all-in era after going in for Micah Parsons a year ago. And I still think, like I said, there's nobody that they lost that I am super worried about. We all know they should have beat the Bears in the first round of that playoffs a season ago. And that was without Micah Parsons and Tucker Kraft and Devontae Wyatt and, who's the other big one I'm missing? Either way, exactly. They had 4 of their top players out that were missing. And if they get all of those players back and healthy this year, which they should, and can hopefully stay healthier than they did a season ago, this to me is still a team that compete at the highest of levels. I'm going to take that one step further, guys. If you switch Seattle and Green Bay's injury health a season ago, and Seattle is as banged up as Green Bay was, and Green Bay was as healthy as Seattle was, I think there's a very strong chance that the results are reversed as well. That Seattle's the first round playoff exit and Green Bay could have been Super Bowl champions just based on health alone. So I'm not saying everything's peachy keen and perfect. We talked about it. It feels like they're a little bit stuck in neutral. They're going to have to take a step. That report card was bad. Matt LaFleur's talking about players not being at their best because they're upset with their role on the team. There are some cracks in the foundation here that need to not just get painted over. They need to get fixed legitimately. But if they can do that, I still think expectations are sky high for this team.
Andy Herman, the Pack a Day podcast on the all-new set of the Pack a Day podcast.
Yeah,
Look at
baby.
that thing.
Woo!
Love how that looks.
Thank you.
Josh, take him wide for those that
Yeah,
are
yeah.
on the YouTube side. Let's just show the whole thing. Yeah.
There we go.
Why those guys? Why Tremont Williams, Charles Woodson, and Nick Collins?
Yeah, so a couple things. Three of my all-time, top 5 favorite Packers. All 3 might be on my Rushmore of just favorite Packers players I love watching. Second thing, I went through it for like a locker room vibe, right? And it just so happens that all 3 of those players were in the same locker room at the same time, so it actually fits as well that they would be, and in the same defensive back room, so that they'd actually all be next to each other in the same locker room. So it just made sense all the way around. Every year I might update it, and go with a different trio, and it might not always be guys from the same room in the same year and things like that. But this was a perfect way to honor. I try to honor Sam Shields as well. We got the 37 up there. I couldn't get another locker fit in, but we tried to honor him as best as possible.
Little shout out for Sam Shields. Didn't have that on the bingo card today.
Exactly.
Andy, we appreciate you, man. Thanks for jumping on. Maybe we'll catch up before the draft one more time.
All right, sounds great. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Andy.
The Wisconsin Sports Radio Network guest hotline powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. We'll cross over from 9 to noon next. We're live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, inside Wisconsin Sports with Trevor and Josh.
Hey, did you know that any youth sports player can score a free small classic Frosty anytime they visit Wendy's in their sports uniform? That's right. Just stop by after practice or with your team after a game. Who doesn't love a Frosty?
9 to noon with John Kuhn, and Rami Makloft is up next here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Inside Wisconsin Sports with Trevor and Josh welcomes in John Kuhn. John, the Packers tailgate tour bus just pulled out of Lambeau Field, literally just now. Did you ever go on that?
Sure did, all across the state. That's a, it's a fun little time for the Packers players, current and former, to get out there, kick the streets, and say hi to some good fans across this great state. Normally stopping at a couple schools, a couple businesses, do a little morale building, maybe at a hospital or something like that. It's long days. They are long days, but that bus can be fun. And the group they got together here all played together as former players, a couple of young studs. They're going to have themselves a good time touring the state.
We're trying really hard to get one of them, any of them, to call in tomorrow morning on Inside Wisconsin Sports with Trevor and Josh. The Packers are working on it with us. We'll see what shakes down. What do we got to look?
Why don't I just give you a couple of their phone numbers, and Josh can do what a good producer does, and text one of them and say, hey, come join our show.
I think that would be wonderful.
Go right at You have my number. Start there.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay, we'll make it happen, Captain.
Yeah, great.
What's
Fantastic.
up next?
Well, we got a great day. Obviously, we got to clap back at Shams for clapping at Milwaukee. The Bucks head coach search is underway. How long does that take? And is there a decision that needs to be made before they make the Bucks head coach decision? And then, did you guys see at the new Highmark Stadium, they've taken the wind out of the stadium? That's weird. Should the Packers do it?
No roof, please. 9 to noon with John Kuhn, Rami Makloff. Coming up next here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Our thanks to Andy Herman. So good to see his set.
Yeah.
Look at him. Look at him doing awesome things.
Andy's doing well. You love to see that.
I wrote down the projections we had for the Packers draft. We'll see how well that shakes out in regard to what he thought. Do you think he was pretty accurate, Josh? Maybe we can talk about that tomorrow. And maybe the question I'm looking for here for an answer is, who's first? Is it offensive line? Is it defensive line? If you had to pick one now, who would it be? Not the person per se, but the position.
I don't know. Lineman.
That narrows it down.
D line.
Okay, D line. I wrote down offensive line.
Okay.
I do think, though, to your point, it's got to be a lineman.
Yeah, big boy.
Would You Rather Wednesday is tomorrow. We hope to answer all of your Would You Rather questions, and we'll share some of ours. We're live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. This has been Inside Wisconsin Sports with Trevor and Josh. Stay safe today, Wisconsin.
Please.
We will see you in the morning.
Because we're not done yet.